can make good friends at sea, the best.
Man down. Check his pulse. Try CPR. Mario, he's gone.
So it can be tough when one of them gets killed. A death affects everyone on board in a big way. Everyone remembers the person who died, remembers what happened, remembers what went wrong. Maybe some lessons will have been learned, hard lessons. But the next time someone gets killed on a ship, the circumstances will probably be completely different. So maybe these people should be trying to learn from the incidents that most of us forget. The ones where nobody actually gets hurt. The ones we got away with this time. Because if you really think about it, deaths are just the tip of the iceberg. For every person that gets killed, there are a host of other things that happen. The figures can vary according to conditions, but it's easy to imagine that for every death, there may be 10 incidents where someone is seriously hurt, maybe 100 where there are more minor injuries, and maybe 1,000 hazardous occurrences where someone is nearly hurt. And what if for each of those 1,000 near misses, there were 10 more situations that were unsafe? But it was all right that time, because no individual came to grief. Any one of these events could end up with a death or serious injury. When you think of it that way, it's frightening the number of times every day you face the possibility of something really serious happening. So what could incidents like these mean to you?
I could get hurt. It could affect my livelihood. My family could suffer. If an accident's even partly down to me, I might not get much compensation. Where would that leave them? Or I could end up with lots of extra work. We're a small crew. One missing person makes a lot of difference. I could get disciplined. If the ship gets damaged or delayed or something like that, I could even end up losing my job.
Not everybody's that worried, though.
I know what my job is. What's safety got to do with me?
It's just not my responsibility, okay? Since when has it been part of my job?
Different department. I'm not on the technical side.
I'm not interested. I look out for myself.
What do you want me to do? Tell on my friends just because they might be taking a few shortcuts? We don't get each other into trouble, okay?
Half the time it's not even anyone I know. And if they're a higher rank than me, forget it. It's just not worth the hassle.
Besides, we've got a safety officer, haven't we? It's his worry, not mine, okay?
Does any of that sound familiar? So, who's responsible for safety on your ship? The safety officer? The officer of the watch? The chief engineer? The captain? No. If you want to know the answer to that one, look in the mirror. It's the responsibility of every single person on the ship, and that includes you. Most people are used to working as part of a team, at least some of the time, maybe even a lot of the time. But if you really want to make sure nobody gets killed or injured, you and your workmates need to work together as a team and look out for each other the whole time, especially when there's not that many of you. happens if you do that? You start to find that if you look out for others, they'll look out for you. The chances of you or any of your workmates getting hurt will be much less. The working atmosphere will get better.
Hey, what's all this one?
And then you'll find that everyone's job gets easier. The whole ship starts to run more efficiently. And that your job is that much more secure. One question though. What's the difference between the things we mentioned earlier? Accidents and hazardous occurrences. Let's start by looking at the most common kinds of accidents. The most common of all are slips, trips and falls. The kind of thing that can be caused by oil on the deck, or a loose grating, a greasy floor in the galley, and so on. Then there are eye injuries. If you're not wearing goggles, you can get all sorts of stuff in your eyes. And there are back injuries. You could overdo the lifting. If you're trying to do a job by yourself that two people should be doing, for instance. Or you might just slip and put your back out. And then there's pollution, from chemicals, garbage, oil, paint, and so on. You might not think that pollution's got as much to do with you as the other things we've mentioned, but if the ship is delayed or fined because of a pollution incident and you lose your job because of it, you may start to feel differently about it. So, what is the difference between accidents like these and hazardous occurrences? One thing, and only one thing: good luck. And there's something these things have in common. They all feature unsafe acts and conditions, whatever those are. Let's look at that. What are unsafe acts? These are the things we do, or fail to do, that lead to unsafe conditions. Say, someone lifts a manhole cover. It's only a 5-minute job, so he puts it to one side. He doesn't bother to fence off the hole or erect warning signs. After all, he's on the spot. Then he finds he needs a different spanner and goes away for a second to get one. Someone else comes along, trips on the edge of the hole, and has a serious fall. The unsafe act, that's to say, leaving the manhole open and unfenced, led to an unsafe condition, and that led to an accident, and probably an injury. So what are unsafe conditions? These are usually the results of unsafe acts. The fact of the manhole being open and unfenced was an unsafe condition. Without one of these, there cannot be an accident. So if you want to help prevent unsafe acts and conditions, putting you and your workmates in danger, what should you be doing? Most important of all, take the initiative. Don't just wait for something to go wrong. Give yourself time to review the safety aspects of any job. The questions you should ask yourself are ones like, is the area safe? Is there the right number of people for the job? If there's more than one person doing the job, do they all have the right skills, the right tools, proper instructions? Be aware of your surroundings. Be on the lookout for unsafe acts, unsafe conditions, and so on, even if you've got a permit. Is your safety equipment ready and usable? Do you know how to use it and when? Never stop thinking about safety and asking yourself questions. What's that red button for? Why is that grating up? Why is that warning lamp out? Many unsafe conditions are not as easy to spot as you might expect. For instance, are you taking the movement of the ship into account? If you haven't, that could end up with one of your tools falling on someone.
Hey, careful!
Or you yourself falling, if you're not wearing a safety harness. Or perhaps your torch batteries are low. That might not seem so important. But what if you enter an unlit space, and then suddenly you can't see? What can go wrong? What can be overlooked? A bolt could shear while being tightened. A wire could snag or ride awkwardly on a drum. Somebody might need to get by in a hurry. The general alarm might sound. The unexpected can happen. But many unexpected events are predictable possibilities. Ask yourself, how might someone get hurt if the unexpected happens? How can you improve the odds against the job falling foul of the unexpected? Don't just glance around. Look hard and critically. How are people using their tools? How are they standing? What are they wearing? Look at the state of the work site. Look for what might go wrong. There are a lot of areas where problems can occur. Is the personal protective equipment being used appropriate to the job? Is it in a safe condition? Are the tools and equipment being used right for the job? Are they being used correctly? Are they in a safe condition? People can often get hurt because they've stationed themselves somewhere that's left them in harm's way. That could involve getting hit or crushed, electrocuted, or inhaling or absorbing toxins, for instance. Or it may be what they're doing that causes the problem. Are they using unsafe shortcuts? What if they did something unexpected? Keeping what people do in mind for a moment, think.
Don't use brass on a grinding wheel. You can take a burr off, use a file.
When you approach a work area, do people stop or leave the job? Rearrange it. Suddenly change position. Adjust or start using protective equipment. Change tools. Attach earths. If they do, this can often mean something was wrong. The person concerned knows it was wrong and has a poor attitude to safety. He only corrected it because he saw you coming. If you hadn't seen it, he'd have gone on behaving unsafely. If anything like this happens, find out why, and then sort out whatever's wrong before it can cause an accident. Do something about the person who isn't wearing the right protective equipment. Get the damaged tool changed for a good one. Get safety barriers erected. Get the site cleaned and tidied and so on. If you think procedures need to be altered, then make it your business to see that that happens. How do you cope with what looks like a problem? For instance, how do you deal with this man using an angle grinder unsafely? How can you sort things out in a way which doesn't cause offence, or make the situation more difficult for either of you? This may be even more complicated in a situation where there are issues around different cultures, nationalities, ranks, or departments. The answer is to have a no-blame culture. That's to say, a working atmosphere which is about helping the people around you to give their best and getting the job done safely. It's not one where it's only about concentrating all your effort on finding and punishing the guilty party whenever something goes wrong. So first try and deal with the matter directly. If you see anyone doing something unsafe, tell them about it. Sometimes this can cause problems. But if it's clear you're trying to be helpful rather than just being critical, it's usually accepted in a friendly way. If you've fixed a problem yourself, report it. It's useful information which could help prevent other incidents. And if it's something you can't fix yourself, again, report it. It's important to remember that the purpose of reporting something is to prevent it happening again. It's not to lay blame or to punish. The reporting system is designed for everyone to use. It helps you to think about basic causes and remedies, and to make those remedies work. It alerts others to things that may affect them. It highlights problems with plant, equipment, or procedures that could otherwise go unnoticed until the worst happens. It's too late, and someone is hurt. And it shows that you're on the ball. What's more, the fact that many more ships are covered by ISM now means that it's more likely that action will be taken about what you've reported. It may be that you're worried about the possibility of making trouble for yourself, or that you don't feel comfortable with the idea of pushing yourself forward. If that's so, don't forget that you can tell the ship safety officer about something you've seen without naming any names. On many ships, you'll also have the option of making a note in a safety journal, or filling in a form and dropping it in a designated box. You don't have to put your name to it if you don't want to. That way you can keep the whole thing completely anonymous. If your ship doesn't have a system like this, do something about getting it set up.
It's everybody's lives that we're talking about here. You know, it's a dangerous place. It's a big ship. You know, people can get hurt and get hurt really badly. So I think
it's also worth mentioning unsafe acts and procedures at safety meetings. But don't leave it till then.
So what can each of us do to stop and make sure that these accidents don't happen again, right? The first thing to do is to keep safety in mind, yeah? Don't wait for everyone else. If you start to think like this, then it'll change the way the whole ship thinks about these things. Next thing is always look beyond the first cause. Okay, somebody might have made a mistake, but then they might not have been trained properly in the first place. And use training properly. Don't wait until there's a problem that needs to be sorted out. Learn from trends. Look at what happens on board. If you see something happening again and again and again, then use that information to make the ship a safer place. And don't forget, there are many different kinds of accidents. Injury to the person, damage to the cargo, damage to the ship, pollution, and so on. So take the right attitude to safety and you'll be helping to prevent them all, right? Okay.
Let's look briefly at what we've covered in the program. Firstly, remember that deaths are just the tip of the iceberg. There are countless other incidents on a daily basis, any one of which could have very serious results. Safety is everyone's responsibility. You need to work as part of a team with your workmates. If you look out for them, they'll look out for you. The only difference between accidents and hazardous occurrences is good luck. And the one thing that they have in common is that they all feature unsafe acts and conditions. Unsafe acts are the things people do or fail to do that lead to unsafe conditions. Unsafe conditions are the results of unsafe acts. If you want to improve safety conditions, you need to take the initiative. Don't just wait for something to go wrong. Give yourself time to think about safety. Be aware of your surroundings. And remember, the unexpected can happen. If something's wrong, sort out whatever it is before it can cause an accident. Aim for a no-blame culture. Remember, that's a working atmosphere which is about helping the people around you to give their best and getting the job done safely. In the first instance, try and deal with the matter directly. If you can't put it right yourself, report it. The purpose of reporting something is to prevent it happening again. It's not to lay blame or to punish. If you're worried about making trouble for yourself, don't name names and report what you saw anonymously. If you want to stop accidents happening again, then start out with safety in mind.
It's fair enough to report it.
Always look beyond first cause. Use training properly. And make sure you learn from things
Look
that
around,
keep
see what
going
happens
wrong.
on board.
Follow these guidelines, and you'll find that as your ship becomes a safer place to be, it's much less likely that you'll have a serious incident on board. And as a result, your ship will become a much better place to live and work.